This is Past the Rock.
Welcome back to episode 5. Here's part 2.
All right, fellas. Let's talk some football, shall we? Now, NFL's over, or the NFL season's over, postseason's over. Now we're in the wild time of the NFL offseason. A lot of coaching hires, draft stuff is coming up. The combine is about to start here in the next 2 weeks, I believe. But fellas, what really matters more than anything isn't the football that is over. It's the football that just started. That's right. We're doing a full minute of XFL action starting right the fuck now. Let's go.
Now it's time for Caesar's XFL Minute.
All right, guys. Ben DiNucci, Cowboys legend, absolutely electrified audiences against the Washington Defenders as he threw 2 interceptions that cost his team the game, but had one mildly entertaining pass to what's his name? The Flash? Josh Gordon? That's right. Josh Gordon is still alive and kicking. You can't suspend him from... That's right. The XFL can't suspend him. Alrighty. Weed is legal in that league, I assume. Alrighty, guys. Now let's keep things local with the Arlington Renegades. They have a quarterback named Drew Plitt. Where is he from? Who knows? But he led the team to a 22-20 victory over the Las Vegas team. And that's what we're gonna call them, the Las Vegas team.
What? Yeah, I was gonna say.
Wait, are they a racial slur or something?
I don't even know, guys, but I'm running the short on time. So, yeah, that's all you need to know is that they won the game, and that's it. That's a full minute of XFL news, baby.
Love it.
That's all we're gonna dedicate to them. All right, but yes, we're gonna do this for the next 9 weeks, guys, where I will give us exactly 1 minute of XFL news.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and continue with actual football news, because the XFL is only going to last this season before it dies out again. All right, guys. I have a couple of things that I want to bring to the table today. And it's going to start off with 2 quarterbacks in particular. We're going with contract talks, baby. We have Danny Dimes, who is reportedly asking for $45 million. I just want you guys to understand this. We need a middle class of quarterback contracts. And Danny Dimes needs to be the poster boy for this. $45 million, is that the starting rate for an elite quarterback or a quarterback that you believe is elite? That's fine. Whatever. $45 million or higher. I'm all for it. Guys, I'm going to throw some names out here for you. Right? We're not going to talk quarterback, what they're making or anything like that. But I'm going to throw some names out here, and I want you guys to tell me whether you believe that Daniel Jones needs to be, or Daniel Jones and these quarterbacks are what we should consider the middle class of the NFL. First and foremost, let's go ahead and start with a guy that I always like to rag on. He is beloved in the heart of Patrick, Kirk Cousins. I believe Kirk Cousins is upper middle class. I believe he is the upper middle class. I believe this year he was making just under $40 million a year.
Sounds right.
There we go. All right. The next guy up on this list, Ryan Tannehill from the Tennessee Titans. If anything, this is the fully evolved form of Daniel Jones. An athlete who eventually gets to become a pretty decent quarterback, but you know what you get, and it's not like over the top. I think he's right in there with Kirk Cousins in the upper middle class of NFL football. And then next up, a free agent that we have is Derek Carr. I think this guy is in that level of middle class right here with Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill. You know he's not going to take you over the top, but if you put a good roster around him, he could probably get you somewhere mildly far in the playoffs. Do I think these guys are as good as Daniel Jones? I think they're all better than him. But I think Daniel Jones will eventually, once he reaches the peak of his ability, is going to be in that level, and I think it's still not good enough to be worth $45 million. Gentlemen, what are your takes on Daniel Jones asking for this much money, reportedly?
Well, I mean, so there's two different schools of thought where I'm thinking. Like, I know with Dak, it was like, is he good enough to make this money? And then there was this argument of no, probably not. He doesn't do it now. You end up paying more, blah, blah, blah. Like, even right now, as controversial as he might be to the fans, to whoever, Dak is in a position where they're telling him, or fans seem to see, like the really educated fans seem to say, hey, re-sign him now because now is the cheapest time to do it. Obviously, this wouldn't be the cheapest time to do it for them, but nonetheless, it's almost like, do you really have a choice? And then the other question, I guess, or part of it is, are we starting to see more teams building systems around quarterbacks to where I no longer need to give a shit about 15-5 being a bad number? I just need to try to figure out if I can get him closer to 25 and even 10 if that has to happen because he's throwing more. You know what I mean? It's like, we just saw Jalen Hurts have a very, decent season, but a lot of times it's just he does all these other little things. So it's like if you're building the team in a specific way, is it fine to just because you trust in him to be a dual threat quarterback to run your offense correctly and you provide him the tools? Does it then make it easier to swallow the contract?
Fair. What about you, Patrick? What do you think? What's your take on this?
I don't know if that's one of those. If that's what he's actually asking for, if that's what the team's saying that he's asking for to get the public thinking something bad, or who knows? It's all negotiations. But the market keeps growing, and the Browns kind of fucked everybody, and no one's really been able to do anything about that since. So this is, that plays in his favor. He'll probably get franchise tagged, right?
Yeah, so there are a couple of tags that the Giants can use. They can use the franchise tag or the transition tag. Now, the transition tag essentially would allow another team to try to sign him, if I'm remembering that correctly. Yeah, and then they can just match, which I assume the Giants will use the transition tag on Saquon and then the franchise tag on Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Or Raven, that leads me to the next topic. We're talking Lamar Jackson, baby.
What happens when Tua gets hurt?
No, Tua's getting Caleb Williams. Y'all saw that? Caleb Williams said the Dolphins got to draft him.
There we go. Future franchise quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, Caleb Williams. Let's hope they don't roll him out with a concussion as well, like the Dolphins did with Tua. But yes, guys, it's time. We talked some Lamar Jackson in here. This is a guy who should be setting the market compared to Daniel Jones of all people. Now, the reports are Lamar Jackson wants a fully guaranteed deal in the same amount, to the same extent that Deshaun Watson got one. Like you mentioned earlier, Patrick, the Cleveland Browns really fucked it up for everybody. Although if we go further back, the Minnesota Vikings gave out the first fully guaranteed contract to a quarterback. So I don't, but not to this amount, not to this extent. Now the problem is Jackson wants a quarterback or wants a contract reportedly similar in length, about 5 years, $230 million, a little bit around that number. I think I saw a number where the Ravens wanted to give Lamar that number, but with like 133 million in guarantees, which Lamar rightfully just scoffed at. Listen, I understand the hesitancy in wanting to get Lamar. He has been hurt the last 2 years, but also wasn't he a unanimous MVP in his second season starting? Like you don't get that kind of production from a guy who didn't really have a lot of he still hasn't had a lot of receiver talent around him. He does make a lot of things happen with his legs, and because he can do things with his legs, it does allow him to have man coverage across the board, allowing him to make some of the good throws that he's capable of making. Now, guys, this is less about talking about if Lamar Jackson deserves the money or not, because I think we could all say that he probably does, although we might have our reservations in regarding his health and essentially how long of a shelf life he may have because of the way that he plays football.
Yeah, I think that's the reason why you don't give him the largest contract ever, because there's no proof of any quarterback lasting long playing like that.
I mean, you're right, but I think the one thing that running quarterbacks and quarterbacks who are used to running can do that, say a pocket passer can't, is that they know how to protect themselves when they do get hit. Right? They know how to fall down and to the ground rather than a pocket quarterback who, like, say Tua, for example, he goes down and he never really does anything to protect himself.
I don't know. I mean, I'd say, obviously the guys who play the longest have learned, like Brady and Rodgers have learned how to take their hits. Matt Ryan's learned how to take a hit.
Yeah, but that's those are two of the two of those three are elite quarterbacks. Yes, and then the other one's Matt Ryan, who's had moments of elite play, but also moments of like, what the fuck are you doing, Matt Ryan?
But the history of running quarterbacks, they don't last very long.
True, but hopefully now we'll get more of a steady sample size.
I think you're kind of seeing that with Dak Prescott over the last 2 years of he can't really play his run around scatter game anymore. Now that's just decreased what he can do entirely as a quarterback.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's right, but also part of that is because he had a freak injury that, I mean, I don't think anybody who with any expectations of like, yeah, a quarterback or anybody could get hurt in a game would expect to see something as horrific as the injury that he suffered. This is less about this conversation and more about, gentlemen, I wanted to talk about some trade possibilities for Lamar Jackson. Now, earlier in the season, we did kind of talk about it. This was before Jalen Hurts had arrived, and I was like, yeah, let's get Lamar Jackson up in Philly. I'm okay now. Jalen can stay. All right, here we go. First and foremost on my list, this is the team that I most want to see him on, and I think that Patrick would hate for this to happen. The Detroit Lions.
Poor Jared Goff.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, that would be such a Jared. Like, if that's Jared Goff's career, that would be just. I kind of think that would fit.
Getting traded for a superior quarterback
Twice.
And
then what if they won the Super Bowl in Detroit?
And
they won't.
Well, hey.
Yeah, but like, come on, bro. You just got to play the game with us here.
Yeah, you got to take your hater glasses off for just a second.
Yeah. See
look at that. He's refusing to acknowledge the Detroit Lions at all right now.
It's a universe I don't want to exist in.
Dude, that would be so crazy, though. Like,
I mean, like that. I feel like he would fit in Detroit, though.
I mean, that would be awesome. That'd be like one of the coolest players they've gotten in a very long time.
He'd have a great offensive line to work with. Amon St. Brown's a really good wide receiver. Jameson Williams is going to be the burner that he so sorely is lacked in Baltimore. DJ Shark can make some plays down the field. That would be a dangerous team. I would put money on a Lamar Jackson led Detroit Lions to win the NFC North. All right, here's my next two teams. This one I would personally hate, and I doubt that they would do it, but it's a team that, with a fan base that said if we just had a quarterback, we would win the Super Bowl. It's the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, that'd be interesting, yeah. It feels hard to see that happening, though, given the situation.
Yeah, I believe that the entire situation from their cap space, which I'm not totally privy to right now, how much they have, but I know they don't have that much. I think they're somewhere like in the middle class.
Are you going to trade your quarterback that you just drafted really high and then watch to break his leg? Because I'm sure strategically you would, but like, is that possible?
I mean, there's this idea of like sunken cost fallacy that NFL teams just need to ignore, right? Like, listen, you traded all these things for him. He's a developmental quarterback, and this is not a team that has the time to develop a guy.
And I mean, they've been drafting a new quarterback every year. So it's not like they haven't
and
been planning on doing that anyways. Like they're going to keep doing it, so they might as well just trade Trey Lance. They don't really seem to be.
The problem with that though is that it is the third overall pick that they spent on him, which is what I think Bethke was alluding to.
They spent a bunch to get up to get him,
and now they could just flip it to Baltimore and be like, "Hey, listen, you could try the Lamar Jackson thing all over again with Trey Lance."
Maybe.
And this would work really well for San Francisco, I think. Put Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, and George Kittle on the field together. I think that'd be a pretty elite squad. All right, this final team, guys, we've heard it before. This is from his hometown, the Miami Dolphins. I think this is a team that I'm just like, you know what? I don't mind it. I don't mind it for Lamar. I don't mind it for the Miami Dolphins. What are we feeling on this one, guys? Is this a pro? Are we pro Miami Dolphins for Lamar Jackson in this scenario? I think Patrick might be.
I think they're holding out for Brady. Once Tua hurts himself.
Yeah. Oh well, that's an interesting way. Or did they call the Hobbit man out of his retreat and they say, hey, maybe Aaron Rodgers, it's time for you to come to South Beach.
I never really gave any mind to the idea of Aaron Rodgers to Miami because we just hear Vegas, we hear the Jets. That wouldn't be upset with that. Also, just to see Ayahuasca Rodgers with the Miami Dolphins would be hilarious, especially with that awful haircut that he likes to rock.
I want him to stay right where he is. I'm happy with the current situation of things.
There we go. All right, well, guys, that does it for the NFL segment. It was going to be really short. Next week, we're going to do a little bit more of a deep dive into the head coaches that have been hired this go around. And I'm going to have a new game where we go down all 32. Oh, wait, let me rephrase this. Where we go through all 32 head coaches. And we're going to start a bracket. And it's going to be a Fight Club style bracket. Who would you have? Who do you have winning in a 1v1? Yeah, 1v1 bare knuckle brawl.
Okay. I mean, I already know there's a favorite. I feel like there's an early favorite, but we'll talk about it then.
Sounds good. And I will lay the ground rules. We're not going to make it unfair. I'm not going to make D'Amico Ryans fight Bill Belichick. We know how that would go.
You got to set it up. You got to set it up like the NCAA tourney. I need him going up. I need that exact matchup. Bill's got too much gusto. Who'd be the easiest coach in the NFL?
Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel, yeah. Mike McDaniel, D'Amico Ryans.
It's the 1 seed versus the 32 seed.
I would also say that Dan Campbell would be the better number 1 seed, just because I believe that he would actually do it. D'Amico Ryans seems like a nice guy.
Seems like a nice guy, but I'm just saying
all the time, like nice guy.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell has like a switch where he goes from the nicest human in the world to terrifying.
He's gonna bite your kneecaps off.
But his CTE flares up, and you're like, "Oh no!" But it's a good "oh no."
Once Andy Reid gets a hold of you, though, you're not.
That's true. Anywhere. Andy Reid's probably got some low key wrestling moves that you don't expect.
And Pete Carroll probably knows some kind of karate. Who knows?
Pete Carroll has jiu-jitsu down.
He's just doing fucking BJJ.
Fat Mike is just gonna have to slug. He's gonna have to if he misses you, he's done for.
Oh my god.
Yeah, my guy's a non-factor. He's just a guy.
Kevin O'Connell's he's in the skinny young white dude bracket as the head coach.
He's just there.
He just exists. Okay.
He basically replaces Cliff Kingsbury's space.
That is true. That is very true. All right. Well, that does it for me, guys. I'm ready to pass the rock to Bethke.
I'm ready to run with it. Or should I say...
We're in the fast break.
Should I say, I'm ready to shoot it 30 times unguarded while everyone around me gets drunk off of expensive... Wait, could they... I've lost the track of the joke. Could they actually drink in Utah or not?
They can't. It's not an actual...
Okay.
I Googled it when Patrick said it. And I was like, there's no way to try state.
That'd be a terrible event to host dry. I don't think people would show up or... Yeah, because the anticipation and the liveliness that's happening in the crowd, we know where that source is. Shaq already gave it away a little bit. But anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, there's a world famous pedophile in the audience.
Oh, dude, that's a perfect place to get started.
Let's go.
So I was going to talk about it. Dunk contest, 3-point contest, all the good all-star fun festivities. The all-star game had all-time low ratings. I feel like that I should lead off with that. You guys didn't watch. You didn't help, did you? You didn't watch?
Nope.
No,
I want to
didn't watch a second of it.
I did. I was a part of the low rating. I did watch this one live. I watched everything else in highlights. But
was it TNT, TBS?
Yeah, it was TNT. They had a lot of wild broadcasting decisions. I think the most wild one was having Luka do a live broadcast while playing, but then playing is also loosely defined. But it was just giving Luka less reason to try
during the MLB All-Star game, and it's awesome.
Yeah, because baseball you could do that.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to try to have somebody actually try to compete in a basketball game and do a live interview at the same time. It's a foul. Like it was great that they gave it to Luka though, because it was kind of like, well, he's not going to try anyway. So it was funny to see that. I died laughing. The broadcast was fine otherwise. The game itself took forever to get started. Like that was crazy. It was like 2 hours of pregame stuff. Like they did the all-star picking, and then they celebrated LeBron, and then they celebrated something else, and then they celebrated something else, and then they brought in Post Malone to do a concert. It was just a lot, dude. It took like 2 hours from the time they picked teams, which was funny and entertaining. It took so long.
Yeah, weren't LeBron's first 2 picks Kyrie and Luka?
Yeah, of the all-star starters. Yeah, guys, you have to know.
He wants to be a Maverick so bad.
I'm pretty sure those were actually, though, his last 2 picks. I'm pretty sure he announced them in reverse order.
Well, they so what they did was,
well, yeah, they had him pick the reserves,
so we didn't know who the last pick was. That was the best part.
There's no way Jokic wasn't the first pick.
Well, I don't think so. I think that was how it went. I mean, to be fair, Nikola even said he didn't know why anybody would pick him. He said, "I'm awful for this game. It doesn't mean anything. I'm not going to try."
The best player in basketball.
Well, he said himself he's not going to try, and he doesn't. Luka doesn't try either. Like either way, we're getting back to the point of what the game was awful, like awful, hilariously bad. It was a shootout. Like Tatum, Mitchell, and Dame Lillard, who were all 3 on the same team, basically just were like, boom, let's go, let's shoot. And then nobody was really contesting. There was a little bit of fun. Brown and Tatum went back and forth a little bit whenever we kind of tell the crowd was egging it on. But yeah, dude, that was about as bad of an all-star game as I think has ever been broadcast. Yeah, it didn't go over very well for a lot of people. The dunk contest, I think, was the best contest or the best thing that happened. C's, did you watch that? You've been talking a lot about Maclung.
Listen, I've only seen Mac McClung highlights. I haven't seen anybody else's because I saw that last dunk and like, oh shit, that's how a white man dunks a basketball.
He should have had like a straight 50.
Yeah, I heard Lisa Leslie gave him a 49.
Yeah, he was really good. Like he did a really good job. And to be fair, this is why the dunk contest is kind of stupid anyway. It's cooler because he's 6'2". Trey Murphy had some really good dunks. There was some interesting dunks that KJ was doing, but like he's just not. He's a bigger guy, and yes, he's got Jericho Sims. They've all got great athletic hops, but they're all bigger guys. So some of these dunks just don't look as cool as if somebody that's 6'2" pulls them off. And it's always been the weird part. It's why those guys, the big guys, won't compete. Because like, what's LeBron gonna do? A bunch of tomahawks? Like we see him do it all the time, you know?
I mean, yeah, Dwight won without even dunking. He literally just threw a ball into the hoop from above it.
And a lot of Dwight was winning because he had like a lot of narrative stuff, right? So that's what I was going to say. There was some good ones. There were some creative ones. So Trey Murphy had a fun one where I think he missed on purpose. And then he got the ball to go do like another one. And his teammate, Jose Alvarado, stole the ball from him and then went to like go to do a layup, but then popped it off the backboard for Trey to slam, which isn't that crazy of a dunk, but just I like that. That's creative, obviously. it's what Jose does. He comes out of nowhere in games. If you don't know the gimmick, he comes out of nowhere, or he hides in the backcourt when the ball is inbounded, and he tries to steal the ball from the point guard who's not paying attention. So it was just a fun little nod to that. I thought it was a good first dunk, at least. So I just want to point the creativity out, because creativity is really hard to do.
I just saw it. That's actually a really good one.
Yeah, it's just really fun one.
Yeah, that's my problem with the dunk contest. Is like, what are they going to show me that
we haven't seen before?
This year had some of that. This year did. It was good. Maclung, all of his dunks were awesome. They were all really fun, and really creative.
That's not to say that these players aren't smart, fun, great at basketball. It's just that there's only so many different ways to dunk a basketball. They've been doing it for 40 years now.
Well, and they had, like I said, that's why any innovation's awesome. Mac had some innovative ones. So he did the whole jump over two guys stacked on top of each other with the basketball. This time he slapped it off the backboard first and then slammed it. His vertical was just nuts. Yeah, he had a lot of crazy ones that you had to like rewind. Like in live, they were kind of cool, but like you rewatch them and you're just like, holy shit, that was crazy. But
yeah, I never thought a guy who looks like he shops at Chubby's would dunk a basketball like that.
Virginia, bro. Virginia low key will put out a couple of them boys. But yes, Maclung definitely is a funny looking basketball superstar, prosper. Somebody to make that all-star leap and have fun with everybody at the game and be a big name, even if he's just a two-way contract dunker. He's been a big Instagram celebrity, and I think it was smart to let him join.
Yeah, we need more of those.
I did want to commend. Go ahead.
Hold on, before you continue, you know who he kind of reminds me of? The actor who plays Dexter from the Showtime.
Showtime. Yeah.
Kind of Matt McClung looks like he could be a serial killer.
But yeah, so we'll sum it up because I don't want to go over. I really don't. This All-Star game was boring. Jericho Sims had a really awkward dunk. I would suggest anyone rewatch that, where he like goes to dunk the ball. There's an envelope. He rips the envelope open. It says 50, but it wasn't. Like no one was going to give him a 50 for that boring ass dunk.
Yes, I did see that. It was just
painfully awkward. I didn't know you could do that. And then the 3-point contest was hilariously bad. I wanted to talk about the fact that Julius Randle posted a 13. Who saw that coming? Oh, everyone. Anyway, the one part that I did want to say, hey, I want to see this look better.
For context, what is a 13?
A 13 is not good. The highest score was a 31. Guys who all got into the next round were 26, and Buddy Hield had 23. In the final round, Dame won with 26. Buddy Hield had 25. Halliburton had 17. But Dame did win on the last shot, so that was cool. Halliburton's shot was pretty good that first round. He was the one who had 31, but he has a weird shooting stroke, so I think that second round he was just dudding it. Anyway, the best thing that happened was the skills challenge, but the skills challenge was also sort of chaotic and half-assed. So I think they need to really promote the skills challenge better and have maybe a bigger field for it, because it's really fun. You have like these different bounce pass ones where the guys have to do the little drills to go through like their floaters. They have to go through just an in and out pattern, like all these really like simple things that a pro should be able to do. And it's fun to watch them do a showcase against it. Now they all were awful. Like Utah came in there with Jordan Clarkson not even wearing real NBA shorts. He had just some other shorts on, and they ended up winning the competition because of how bad the rookies in the Milwaukee team did, which the Milwaukee team was just disgusting. Like we let LeBron and Giannis do a lot of stuff because they're the best players, but like having Team Giannis every year has to stop. Alex and Thanasis and Kostas aren't good players. Please stop making them participate in competitions where I have to watch them dribble basketballs. I don't need it. Shout out to Drew Holiday for making that semi-watchable. The rookies were atrocious, but they were at least fun to watch. It was Paolo Banchero, Jabari Smith Jr., and Jaden Ivey. They were all fun to watch, but they kind of were terrible at a few things. The most interesting one is there was a shooting contest also in this one. There was a shooting contest that basically they put a bunch of spots around the court, and one person shoots, another guy rebounds, passes it out, and you just alternate, right? So you have one ball and you have to make a shot amount in this 1 minute rounds, right? Here's this final score. The rookies got 0 made 0 baskets. Although I did see Paolo make 1, they just didn't count it. I'm not sure why. I didn't care to look. The Milwaukee Bucks in 1 minute scored 8 total points, and this is with hitting one that was worth like 5 points, I believe, the really far one. And the Jazz finished with 13 to win it, and then to win the competition altogether. So it was funny. It was interesting, that part at least. I would like to see that expanded to the girls. I think, Caesar, you brought it up last week, and they didn't do it. They don't do the, like, if I had the Dallas team, I would put Luca and Enrique together with, maybe a Dallas area local kid or a G League player, maybe one of the legends. I would mix those guys in there and then have them run the competition like they used to. But I don't know why they're not doing that, because that was fun. It was for city pride. But
Yeah, that is unfortunate. I would love for them to bring that back, because that's one of the few things from All-Star Weekend when I used to watch it that I really enjoyed, because I was like, oh, hey, who's this player that I've never seen before? And there's a girl here playing? There's a WNBA player here?
it would help to broaden it, right? You would think it'd be an easy way for them to sell the products that they're also, they're basically going into debt to fund these 2 leagues and to get them started. And, you would think putting in the extra effort to include them in All-Star Weekend beside the celebrity game would be, or in the Rising Stars Challenge.
Common sense isn't so common.
No, it's not. But either way, that was the whole time I wanted to spend on the All-Star game. I did want to see, did you guys have any half-assed suggestions for fixing the All-Star game?
All right.
The more half-assed, the best.
Slam ball.
Oh, a slam. Ooh, so you're definitely not getting the best players to play slam ball. But that we could do something with that. There could be something with that.
Even in just the dunk contest, I don't know.
Adding a trampoline to the dunk contest.
That would be hilarious.
Having regular people go up against them with trampolines.
Y'all saw the video with the mascot hit the backwards half-court shot, and then Luka just walked up behind him and did the same thing. That was so cool.
Yeah, well, he needs to practice his catch-and-shoot shots. But anyway.
Maybe his free throws.
No, don't tell pros. Don't tell superstars that. They get sensitive. But yes. I don't mind that idea. Get some trampoline action in there. Again, that's definitely not going to work with the star players, but maybe the rising stars. That'd be kind of cool.
Have you ever seen unicycle basketball? That's possible.
Okay, you're very avant-garde right now, but I would love to see Giannis on that.
For me to watch.
No, that was the half-ass I was looking for. So you've delivered. Caesar, do you have anything?
Listen, I can't follow up unicycle basketball. No.
So
We're good.
I only
had hear me.
I only had one suggestion, and it was inspired by everyone being so upset about this that they felt like maybe there's a Sooners Day or whatever, but everyone's got to have a take. So everyone says it was basically a Harlem Globetrotters game. Well, I would disagree.
I wish.
I would disagree. I was like, the Harlem Globetrotters are a blast. I don't know why you would discredit how much fun it is to watch that game. So let's have the Harlem Globetrotters help the guys out. How much more fun would it be if I go out there and I see Steph Curry go out to do a pass and then he has a string on the ball and it comes right back to him? That would be funny. Come on. That would be funny. Let's give these guys props and gags and stuff. Then maybe they'll actually enjoy it.
Ooh, let's get some G Leaguers up against the Harlem Globetrotters.
Well, we could do that. Well, no, we don't want to make that, because they would smoke the Harlem Globetrotters. Those are older guys.
No.
It's like the Washington Generals.
Yeah.
That would probably look goofy on the league though if you did that, because then they would be like, "Oh, your G League, ha ha ha! You can't even beat the Globetrotters."
No, I guess maybe.
Even if it was rigged, I know. It would just be a goofy perception thing. Honestly, like I said, just bring the Globetrotters in, have them consult. Please stop making our coaches coach the game, by the way. What the hell is the point of a coach in All-Star game for? Get celebrity coaches for All-Star game. Get former players. Get former coaches. Get somebody who's not busy with an entire season to manage this game. These are people's vacation times, and you're expecting them to deliver you a good product while they're competing. And by the way, if you don't know, you pick the number one coach in each division. So Denver and or in conference. And both.
Oh, I thought LeBron and Giannis are just the coaches.
No, they were the team captains. So they just picked the teams, but it was Denver's coaching staff and it was Boston's coaching staff.
Well, yeah, that's
business.
immediately right there. You just let there be a player coach. If we could vote on a player coach, so that way we could get Theo Pinson in.
There you go. Honestly, I'm good with that too. But I wanted to finish with one thing. Remember, it was just a couple years ago. This format was good. I've heard on Zach Lowe's podcast, which everyone, for the most part listens to, in basketball world, he and I forget he was talking to, essentially said the same thing that I think is possible is, hey, just remix it again. If this keeps getting stale, remix it again. Do a 1-on-1 tournament. Do a 3-on-3 tournament. Those were the things they suggested.
Bring back the horse.
We don't have to have tradition. Well, I was just going to finish off. There was one thing is that that Zach said that the last time I'll parrot Zach Lowe today. He was like, it's an absolute non-starter that we do the MLB style. And I agree. I'm not listening to that. I don't care. It still blows my mind that the MLB does what they do.
What do you mean?
If
make it important?
Yes. Are you serious?
They
did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank God, MLB, because that was the most bullshit thing I've ever heard in my life.
I'm like, let me check. Now you're making me question that. I'm pretty sure they got rid of that.
That was so bonkers. Like that was one of the hardest lessons of being a new baseball fan when the Rangers got good.
No, yeah, that fucked us pretty hard. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Either way, so that's it with the All-Star game. We ran almost 10 minutes over on it, but it's okay. Honestly, with the general stuff, I just wanted to give like a preview. If you guys want to talk about anything in extended detail, we can. I just wanted to give everybody like a quick, hey, while obviously all the games got started tonight, give you some topics to look at and things to care about moving forward. Is there anything you guys particularly wanted to jump at? I mean, there's a couple of talking points I want to bring up, but I can just kind of run down this list of my second half preview.
I think the Hawks coach thing. I think I know you have that on there.
Oh yeah, we'll stop at that for sure.
The only thing that's really.
Who's getting arrested?
Yeah, who's getting robbed right now?
Dude, just my entire life sounds like that.
It's okay. I live off Mockingbird. Yeah. I hear that shit all the time too. But yes. All right. So.
That's fine. Go ahead.
You're good. So, all right. Second half previews. We'll start with the most important thing: health. Got Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. All three very important names. All three very not playing basketball right now. Kevin Durant reports that he'll be back on Wednesday. Steph Curry should be back or reevaluated in another week. So probably about a week out from those two very important rosters getting their best players back. And then Giannis, not a super serious wrist injury, but there's not a timeline on it. Most likely saying that in 1 or 2 weeks he'd be back is the way I would look at that. Probably not a lot to stop there on. I just wanted to give everybody a quick idea of when to look for the new Phoenix Suns, to look for whatever the Warriors are going to look for as they defend the title. And of course, Giannis, I mean, most would think of him as the best player in basketball. And his team is certainly positioned to attempt to win a second title in 3 years. So those three names are very important. Moving into the next thing I wanted to look at. Are we going to see a shameless tankorama, or are we going to see a great American mid-off? So we have the Nets, the Hawks, the Wizards, the Raptors, the Bulls, the Pacers, the Thunder, the Trailblazers, and the Jazz, who all sort of sit in this weird predicament. Now, the Nets don't control their own pick, I believe, so maybe they're a little different, where they still should just try to win as many games as possible, even if their season is sort of handicapped already by the fact that they had to jettison their two best players mid-season.
Yeah.
But, so maybe we'll take them out, because maybe being mid is just about as good as anything for them. But for the Hawks, the Wizards, the Raptors, the Bulls, the Pacers, the Thunder, the Blazers, and the Jazz, few of those teams more than the others, have plenty good reason to just be done with the season here. To say, maybe we can, get into that Victor Wembanyama stakes, help us out. But it seems like more and more we're seeing, because of the play-in, theoretically, I would assume, teams are competing for the play-in more often than they're not. That's why the Wizards didn't sell. It's why the Raptors didn't sell. And it's why the Bulls didn't sell. Honestly, it's why even the Pacers and the Thunder and the Trailblazers didn't sell more than they did, or move more parts. Jazz too. And they made moves, but not a ton. So you're talking about a lot of teams that see the positive sides in the money, right? Like, that's the easiest argument, is the extra money for playing in a play-in game and getting to host at least 2 games in that first round. We know that's the biggest part, especially Michael Jordan. I know he's sad right now. He's like, my team sucks, so I know they're not going to the play-in. But if there was a way for him to get into the play-in, he'd try to get into the play-in. So I'm interested, as you guys are more casual basketball fans than I would be. Does this interest you that there seems to be, and maybe we're wrong, there could be shameless tanking coming, but there seems to be a trend of teams willing to take the middle as a positive instead of a negative?
Yeah, I'm actually very interested in that, because I'm of the mindset that if you don't have a chance to win the title, there is no point in being in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of sports.
Go after Wembanyama. Well, you'll see it in football. You might even see it in baseball, though to a lesser extent, because the draft. Not to say it doesn't matter in baseball, but we see the results of a draft way later than we'll see it in football or basketball.
Yeah. And so with this group, the Hawks, we'll talk more about them later. There's not any real reason for them to tank. The Wizards, the Raptors, they're sort of both in that. We have a lot of talent, but it's not doing what we want it to, so we're just going to sit on this and maybe it gets better. The Bulls, same way, except for I think that's a little more doom and gloom. The Pacers, the Thunder, and the Trailblazers and the Jazz, that's the interesting teams to me, because those are all 4 teams where they argue, you argue the theory, they should be the ones trying to drop out. But they're all 4 sort of young teams, other than Dame in Portland. But he's surrounded by a lot of young guys. They all need to have playoff experience. They all need to have something to grow on, not necessarily to add another, young player to develop. So you can see where the logic is, where all 4 of those teams would still be interested in continuing to compete for playoff spots, even though, sure, logically, you'd be like, hey, you know what? What are we realistically? What do we still need? Hey, that 7-5 guy would be really cool if we could just be in the lottery. Even if we were the 14th team that has almost no shot. It would just be interesting to see the conversations, even if it's not just for Wembanyama. There's a lot of talented kids, so and draft picks are always important as far as equity. So it's just interesting to see. I didn't think we would get to this place with the play-in, but it does seem like it's some proof that the play-in makes the regular season more competitive than it has been previously.
No, for sure. Now, I will say this though. I know that there's a lot of, at least from the league perspective, right? There's this you want your teams to be competitive and whatnot. Obviously, because you don't want, even though the fans know that you're probably tanking, the league doesn't want the fan base to believe that, because they want to develop a strong league, they want a strong audience. It's like, hey, watch your favorite team play. They have a chance to win. I'm just wondering if we do this whole Great American Mid-Off, right? If that's the direction that we go, is the league going to start doing more internally to try to convince these teams to keep going that route? Because for the longest time, it's been a lot of, hey, if we're bad, and we know we're bad, we're just going to tank it, and there's really nothing you can do about it.
Well, there's always going to have to be clever tanking.
Yeah, but at this point, it's like we all know. Like, even the league, I'm sure, is aware. It's like, all right, we know that they're tanking, but we can't necessarily prove it.
Well,
but if there's a Great American Mid-Off, like in this scenario of like, all right, these teams are all going to try to play for the play-in, and I don't know, maybe that positively affects the ratings, right? Like year over year, they can have the sample size. Like, hey, these teams right here, their ratings went up in their local markets because they were in the playoff hunt. we want to continue to encourage that and not continuously encourage tanking, right? So I'm just wondering if that happens, if this happens, right? This race for essentially the eighth, the not the eighth spot, but the play-in spots.
The ninth and the 10th spots, essentially.
Yeah, the ninth and 10th spots, essentially. If we do get that, do we see maybe like a culture shift in the NBA among teams and how they go about their end of season runs?
Well, I don't know if
And
there's
do we
even
see
been
the
a culture shift towards tanking as much as it's just a matter of life. Like, I don't think that everyone wants to tank or everyone believes in tanking universally, but there are some teams who realize that they can only build one way and are foolish to believe in another.
Spurs waited until they got Pop 1,000 wins or whatever.
Russell Westbrook is officially a Clipper, and I feel lukewarm about it. I definitely gave a whole speech about how I think it's an awful idea. So I don't want to walk that back. I will say I'm rooting for him, and I will say I am interested to see how much of a leash they give him. The introductory press conference sure made it sound like they were about to play a lot of Russell Westbrook minutes. I'm not so sure about that. But one thing I will say, I think this is awesome for Russ as a person to continue to stay in LA and build a legacy there, because I think even if the Lakers would have kept him and if it would have been better than it ended up being, there could have been a path where he stayed on a better deal and was a more useful player to them on a better salary. Now he gets to be that in LA already, right? And maybe in the future, if this goes well, he can continue to do that. This is also an interesting moment for the Clippers because they've always wanted to, there's literally no secret that they've done everything they can to try to unseat the Lakers in LA. We know that's kind of a fool's errand, but all you can do is what you can is handle on yourself. They've got this beautiful new stadium. They've spent all this money. They've got a great head coach, in my opinion, one of the best in the league. They've got two of the best wings in basketball. They've got a stacked roster. They killed the trade deadline. They've, for the first time in 4 seasons, basically, they're playing their team multiple games back to backs. We're getting to see the real Clippers, what they were supposed to look like. And you bring in Russ, and you have Russ, Kawhi, PG, 3 big names. That's usually what the Lakers do. All 3 LA kids, the LA kids that more than likely spent time at Clippers games more than Lakers games because of how affordable or how accessible they were
Right.
at the time, right? So this is a good moment. I mean, if those 3 pull off a title, that's a really big moment for the Clippers. It does not get them anywhere near that Laker lore, but it's certainly a shot. It's certainly them finally sitting there and firing a real shot at the Lakers that matters. Not this whole, we've owned the Lakers in the regular season. It's like, yeah, cool, I get it. But the Lakers have been dog shit for the last 2 seasons, so how much does that really matter? So it's an interesting one. Like I said, I'm rooting for it. It's a crazy important LA narrative and storyline to monitor. But that's about it that needs to be said on Russ. If you guys have anything else that needs to be said on Russ that hasn't been said.
Yeah, I don't think I have an original thought on Russell Westbrook right now.
He is what he is. No one's going to lie about that. So we'll move on from that. But it is notable because, hey, if they use him right, that's a hell of an addition to add to a stupid deep team. And like I said, Russell Westbrook is not great when he's 1/3 of your salary. When he's barely a fraction of it, like a $1 million contract, that's different. But we'll move into the Hawks. The Hawks fired their coach. Nate is now, I guess, going to wait off probably just retire until the Seattle job, and they'll just bring him in like Paul Silas was whenever they, RIP Paul Silas, whenever they brought Charlotte back. And they were just like, let's just get us an old guy who knows a lot about the NBA. So I'm calling that shot now. Put it on wax. You guys can say you heard it here first. The GM said they would act immediately and aggressively, and then before we could even get to the recording, rumors that they were already closing in on Quinn Snyder are approaching. which makes sense. That'd be the best coach on the market. So if they want to, I feel like it's reasonable that Quinn Snyder could be coaching the Hawks next Friday the 3rd.
Dude, that bringing in a new coach mid-season like that?
I think it's happened before. Feels like it. Yeah, I think Phil Jackson came back in the midseason with the Lakers whenever he came back before the last two titles.
Now, when he came back, like, how far removed was he from the team in terms of time away?
Phil had just left.
So it's like the system is still there. Like, a lot of those players would be familiar.
Phil had just left. Yep.
Yeah, this is good. I feel like this might be a little bit unprecedented in modern basketball, and then you take a guy who hasn't been in the building, and then like, all right, well, just go ahead. You know what to do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, so I
figure it out.
I get it. Quinn, so we knew this was coming anyway, right? We thought this was going to happen a while back, and they kept Nate, and I guess Nate kept himself more than anything. Is the way it was kind of being reported. And then they found the guy, and maybe there's some tampering. I don't know if it's tampering because Quinn is not a free agent. He is a free agent, but Utah can still demand something for him, I think. Either way, I don't know. He's the best coach on the board. I think this is an interesting question I want to pose for Patrick, because this told me a lot about San Antonio, it felt like. Because it really, not just because it's easy, because he came from Pop's system, but it felt like an easy move for Pop to finish this season, retire, and then hand the keys to Quinn Snyder, who would be as great a get as you could possibly get for the Spurs. Maybe this now says either one, Quinn's not interested in returning, which, maybe you could read as a bigger indictment, but I won't go that far. Or that this is maybe a sign that Greg Popovich is truly kind of hampering down for another 5 years. Sounds not super unrealistic. Not that there's not other candidates. There's a lot of people who have come from the San Antonio system. It was just Quinn was so perfect. It was obnoxious how perfect Quinn would have been. So I guess I'm interested in your opinion on that.
Hold on, guys. I think I lost it for a second.
Patrick,
you there? Oh, I think we lost Patrick. Oh, Patrick.
It's okay. We'll pretend like I didn't ask that question.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine.
I'll
pretend like I didn't hear it.
The San Antonio aspect of that didn't happen, because we did get the whole rest of the Quinn Snyder thing in there. Yeah, so I think we'll keep rolling.
Yeah. What if Patrick was the one who was robbed?
For real, the cops are coming.
This is gonna be great for him to record, just to edit, just all this dead airspace that he left.
I mean, we could always just finish it out too, because there's only 3 other things.
Yeah,
we got.
One thing.
Get back to the Hawks.
Is there a chance that he fell asleep? Could he have fallen asleep behind the mic?
I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm
gonna ping him real quick, see if that yeah. Let's see. Maybe he has Discord on his phone. Who knows? All right, yeah, we can finish this up though.
But yeah, we can finish it and at least be on the recording in a hilarious manner, I'm sure. So anyway, yeah, the Hawks fired Nate and are bringing in somebody quickly, and their schedule sets up perfectly for it. So I do think it's possible it'll happen soon. Moving into the next group, I wanted to say, so we have Lonzo Ball officially shut down. An unreliable source, but I guess maybe reliable source, Tristan Thompson, said that he overheard somebody talking about how it was that they had never seen this kind of injury before.
Well, but when you say unreliable, I think we know in what aspects of life he's unreliable.
Maybe he's reliable here.
Yeah, maybe he's a reliable teammate. Maybe
I
not so much a
don't-
spouse.
I
but-
have not seen him on ESPN much, so I don't know how that's been going. But that's where he apparently said it. Pat Beverly swore that he was going to get the Bulls in and then be able to cancel the Lakers out. The two teams play in late March when they both would either probably be eliminated or barely trying to push in. So who knows if Pat Beverly will be able to try to do that. But yeah, so I just thought that was interesting.
That is funny
Really-
though. The Pat Bev making the Lakers his public enemy number one and playing in a completely different conference.
But yeah, so for Lonzo, this is pretty scary moment. This is pretty much where you wonder how long, where he's gonna play again, when he's gonna play again. So it's a note. We've kind of been talking about it a little bit over the time we've been running this show.
Yeah.
I hope it's
If-
better, but it still
Yeah,
feels like we
if-
won't even see him next year.
If you can remind me, what is the
It's-
is it upper body, lower body?
It's a knee issue, man. That's the thing, and it's the fact that we don't know is probably the worst part.
Yeah, that's crazy though to think that we've had well over 100 years of professional sports, and if this is really an injury I haven't seen before, that's gonna be crazy.
The human body's interesting, and everyone's different, so we will find out with Lonzo. But hoping the best there. Moving into the last couple topics here, we have a Lakers Magic improbable push run. So of course everyone knows plenty about the Lakers because they're well documented. They're pretty far back. The Magic are as well. Both teams were the 13th seed, or have been the 13th seed for a lot of the season. But both are still not completely out of the playoff picture as well. 638 has the Lakers with a 35% chance of making the playoffs, or the play-in, I believe. And the Magic with a 0.6. I think that's hella low, given how good the Magic have been. But still reasonable to understand that they're basically having to deadlift themselves quite a bit from their very atrocious starts in this season. The Lakers just got this new team together. As I turned on tonight's game, they were smacking the Warriors, but the Warriors came back and made it a little close at halftime. That's where they're at now. Obviously, they'll have to win a lot of games. Orlando beat Detroit tonight, which isn't the biggest win in the world, but it's another dub nonetheless. The most notable stat in these two teams chasing is the Lakers play 15 games against teams that are ahead of them in the standings, and the Orlando Magic play 12. So if there's ever a big swing to make, you would want those games to go more your way than they don't. And then finally, I could make a comparison to this globally, but we could be on the precipice of World War III, so I'm not going to make a joke about that right now. It could get poorly timed soon.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
There are a few paper tigers, in my opinion, or potential fake paper tigers. I think number one is pretty obvious. The Denver Nuggets. Everyone has been clowning them on social media, calling them the Atlanta Hawks of 2016, if anyone remembers how funny that group was. I think they had 5 starters or 5 players in the All-Star game, and none of them were really. Al Horford deserved it, I think. The rest of it was like Kyle Korver. Oh, yeah, okay. Jeff Teague.
Yeah.
Okay. You're just like, well, wait, Damari Carroll? Are you sure? I don't even know if Damari Carroll was on that.
Was it the 2015-16 Hawks,
Yeah.
or was it the 16-17 Hawks?
15-16,
Okay.
I believe. Yeah, because they won like 60 games, but they got curb stomped in the playoffs because they weren't real. I don't know that the Denver Nuggets are that bad. I know that they have a legitimate reason of concern. I don't know that I would put them in that category yet. But they're unfortunately stuck in the same repetition of, if we haven't seen you do it, no one believes you. So we'll see when they can do. I don't really think there's too much to elaborate on other than the fact that I think they have enough talent to do it. It's just a matter of if they can, and there's a huge question of what they can do as far as rim protection. The Kings, I think that's the easiest paper tiger to point out because they're kind of an obvious paper tiger. They've done exceptionally well to start the season. I think they're both going to get. I think they're going to get passed by Phoenix and the Clippers as the season winds down. Um, I mean, you can call them paper tiger. I think we just all should be happy the Kings are good.
They're a fun team, man. Like Paper Tiger or not, like that's a franchise that's been down on the dumps for way too long now. And the fact that they're just a fun team to watch, like they're winning games, and sure, it may not be sustainable, but the fact that they win games in a way that will entertain, like somebody like myself or somebody like Patrick, like the casual fan who just wants to see something entertaining, like there's something to be said about that.
If they're still like this next year, then we can be concerned. Right now, we're not going to worry too much. The Grizzlies are kind of in the same position. Now, that's different with the age range, how they were built, whatever. But the Grizzlies are in a similar situation where, well, now is the time for you at least to show us something. You guys don't have a lot on your playoff resume, and you talk like you've won a couple titles.
Yeah, so, they do be talking.
The Grizz are on there, but the Grizz are definitely talented. I think their depth is a little questionable. I think they have a lot of depth, but they don't have a lot of experience playoff guys. Like, I think they have one of the best 1 through 15 rosters where they have just so much talent. So many guys I'm interested to see how they develop. But not necessarily a bunch of guys where I'm like, okay, if the playoffs started right now, let's roll. Like, if that's the situation, I'm actually pretty worried. And then the final paper tiger, the one that I think is the most interesting paper tiger for off-season narratives, the Philadelphia 76ers.
Ooh.
So I think that this team is clearly one of the most talented rosters in basketball. They've started to play like it. If they don't keep it up, or if they do fall, Doc Rivers has been down this road before. James Harden has been down this road before. And unfortunately, Joel Embiid has been down this road before a little bit more than people want to talk about. I think it's a pretty interesting conversation to have about Philly because I mean, maybe it sounds crazy because maybe they're on the precipice of winning a title. But if this thing explodes, Harden dips back to Houston, where he gets all the money and power and control again and a bunch of young players. Doc Rivers gets fired because obviously at that point, you're blaming Doc for that shit. You start figuring out, maybe, do I move Maxey? Do we build around Maxey? Do we move Tobias Harris? Do we have any assets left to do anything with? And then you wonder, is Joel Embiid finally just going to be tired of the bullshit? And will a pretty significant chip on the trade market start to pop up about draft time? I just think it's an interesting thought. Everybody could explode. I mean, if Boston fails miraculously, we could finally see the Brown Tatum marriage end. No one's only Golden State at this point. I mean, even Anthony Davis and LeBron, they have a title together, and I wouldn't be surprised they had to break that up. I don't think anybody wants to, but there's certain situations where you wouldn't be surprised, and I think Philly's starting to look at that. I'm starting to look at Philly, and I'm like, hey, this is your window. If you don't maximize it, maybe it's not fair, but you may not get a second chance.
Yeah, with Philly, like I know it's a little too early to have this conversation right now, but who would be a good fit there for that roster in terms of the next guy to take over for Doc? Because I've never been a Doc Rivers guy. I don't believe in the guy as a coach. Honestly, like, yes, I know he has an NBA title, but there's just so much evidence to prove that he's just not built for like those postseason runs.
So I would say there's two things to this. I would say if they explode, I would say it's almost impossible to wonder if the guy who's taking over isn't taking over a rebuilding job around Tyrese Maxey. Because I do think the stakes are high, and I don't think that the Sixers are. I don't know. Maybe they're going to double down around Embiid, and he's so invested in the city, and the city certainly is invested in him. I don't think it's impossible. But if they were, I mean, I love Sam Cassell, but everyone's going to get annoyed if you just hire the assistant coach. I just think Sam Cassell probably deserves a shot at this point. Even though being Doc's assistant is what keeps him away, probably. I don't know if there is a slam dunk coach, because a lot of these coaches that are kind of the next guys in line, unless you're able to steal Quinn Snyder, which doesn't seem likely now, I don't know that there is an answer out there. You're going to be taking an assistant, you're going to be taking a former player, you're going to be taking a shot on somebody most likely. And at that point, I don't know if there's an answer there. Like I said, I think if Philly falters this season, I think Embiid would probably have every reason to start to want to use his power to get a better situation, or to remix his situation into something that he likes better, because they have a lot of talent, a lot of different contracts that could work. They have some different ways they can maneuver without the picks. So I just finish it off by saying I'm interested with Philly. Their stakes are high. There's a lot of people with some high stakes, but I think that Philly has to have the highest, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
All right. Well,
I'll be interested to see what happens to that, because that is too talented of a basketball team, in my opinion, for them to not at least push for the Eastern Conference Finals, or be in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Well, and of course, not to belabor this, but I mean, it is the second half of the season preview. We can finish it with this. Maybe it's a pot shot. You could call it that. Maybe there's some vitriol behind me bringing this up, but it would be interesting if they lost the NBA Finals. The city of Philadelphia,
it's gonna burn.
The city of Philadelphia would be. There's a documentary coming if that happens. That's all I know.
100%. Could you imagine that all 4 of their major professional sporting teams losing the championships of their respective leagues? It would be
incredible.
It would be amazing content. I would watch that. I mean, I would be pained by seeing being reminded of the Eagles' failure, but I'm not necessarily invested in other Philadelphia sporting franchises.
Just imagine if the Flyers were useful.
Man, I don't think I could. I don't think I'm capable. Even I, who doesn't really follow hockey that much, know that the Flyers are not. They're just a joke. in Philadelphia sports circles. I think I can hear Patrick's dog drinking water.
I hope so.
That's what that sounds like. All right, well, yeah, I don't know if you can hear audio of what sounds like a dog drinking water.
I hear it. Hey, I think we landed the plane.
Oh, definitely.
I don't know.
We ran a 2-man game, right? We were Kyrie and Luka.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know how much of this is gonna have to get chopped out. How much dead audio is coming, Patrick? I'm sorry about it. We've done all we can do. Take your dog outside. Sounds like she's got some water that has just gotten to their system. So, but C's, I think I'm done. I think that today was a chill pod. Like I said, I feel bad for Patrick having to find the spot where maybe that's what. Let's send him a little. Or I don't know, that doesn't work. Timestamp won't work like that. Whatever.
Yeah, no, he's just listen towards like the last, I don't know, 15 minutes of the pod, and you'll find the dead audio.
What if he doesn't wake up for hours? We can't stop this.
Wait, no, I think we can. There's a look over you. We could hit stop recording.
My stop
on Craig.
Oh, okay. I'm afraid to hit stop recording, but I feel like we should.
I'll be the one who does it. No worries. All right. Sounds good. We'll come back next week, and hopefully we won't lose Patrick again.
I don't care. It's a funny bit.
That is.
All
right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Later.
Thank you for listening to Pass the Rock. Join us next week, and remember, tell your friends.
This is Pass the Rock.